Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sneha and today I'm creating yet another 3 looks 1 palette video using the FW Beauty Bengal Palette. So if you'd like to see how to create this and 2 other looks using this colorful palette, then please continue watching. At the end of the video, I do plan to do a little mini review on the palette, so if you'd like to skip to that portion, I'm going to put the timestamp right here and also in the description box below. But let's start with look number 1. And when I first opened the palette, the first shade that I was drawn to was the stunning blue shade called Nadi. So that's the shade I'm going to use predominantly for this look number 1. I've gone ahead and primed my eyelids off camera with the Viseart eye primer. And I'm going to use the FW Beauty setting powder in the shade Light to just dust around the crease area, not taking it onto the eyelid. This will help in blending out the eyeshadows that we are going to apply to the crease and transition area much better, and will also act as a matte brow bone highlight since the palette doesn't have one on that similar tone. So I'm just going in first with the shade Mishti, which is similar to my skin tone, just has a slightly more peachier undertone. And this is kind of optional, but because I've done it on the other eye, I'm just going to apply it. And I'm taking this as a transition shade. And for that, I'm using the mack Pro blending brush, which is the large one, and the number is 1.15. Then I'm going to this pink shade called Sari, which is beautiful. I typically don't wear pink eyeshadows on my eye, but I just thought this would look lovely with the blue eyeshadow. So I'm using that particular shade, and again with that same brush, applying it to the crease of my eye, and then blending it towards the brow bone, but not taking it up to the brow bone, if that makes sense. So just building up the intensity till I'm happy with the color payoff. So I'm switching between the Kitco blending brush, which was the large one that we spoke about, and then this one, which is my Kitco defining crease brush, which has the number 1.3, which is beautiful. It's such an amazing brush for building up depth in a certain specific area. I'm just using that as I'm coming closer to the inner corner of my eye, and then blending out the edges with the larger blending brush. I'm also going to take this pink shade Sari along my bottom lash line with the same brush by Kitco, which is 1.3. Then going to the star of this look, which is the shade Nadi. And I'm going to use this dry at this stage. So again, taking it on the defining crease brush, the 1.3, and then taking it into the depth of the socket. And because it's blending in with that pink eyeshadow that we laid down before, it's going to turn into this warm tone purple almost. So it's just a nice transition, beautiful concoction of pink and blue. And then going back in with the larger blending brush to diffuse out the edges. I'm also running this blue shade along my lower lash line, staying closer to my lashes and letting the pink shade peek through from the edges. And I'm also taking the shade on the outer V of my eye, creating the shape that I want for this look. Then I'm going to use a flat brush. This is actually a lip brush by Sigma L05. I'm going to dip it in the MAC mixing medium and going in again into the blue shade Nadi, and this time applying it damp, and you can see how much more intense and vivid the shade looks. So I'm going to take it all over the eyelid and then blend out the edges with the Kitco defining crease brush. I'm also running whatever's left on the brush along the lower lash line, just around the center of the eye. And then to deepen up the outer corner of the eye, I'm going to use the black from the palette, which is called Surma. I'm going to take that on a Louise Young LY38 brush and just blending it with the blue shade we already had. So it creates like a deeper blue kind of a tone there. Lastly, for the inner corner of my eye, I'm going to mix this gold and the orange shade just to get a more bronze gold kind of a shade. So I'm going to mix Shuna and Silhe. I'm not sure how to pronounce this, but just taking a layer of gold, then adding some orange to it, and then again going over it with that gold. And that makes a nice contrasting inner corner highlight against the blue shade that we have on the lid. Then just run any black kohl that you have on your waterline. I'm using the Charlotte Tilbury Rock and Kohl in Bedroom Black. And then applying my favorite MAC mascara for the bottom lashes. and then using the Charlotte Tilbury Legendary Lashes Volume 2 for my top lashes. On my lips, I'm using the Kat Von D Studded Kiss Lipstick in the shade Lolita. And on my cheeks, I'm going to use the Tarte blush in the shade Dollface. And that is look number 1. Moving on to the next look. Now for this look, I wanted to use more of the burgundy plum kind of tones from this palette. I'm already starting with prime eyelids, and today I've used my NARS eye primer. So I'm starting with a transition shade, which is Chai from this palette, and I'm taking that on the My Kitco 1.15 brush, which is a large blending eyeshadow brush. And then with the same brush, I'm just lightly dipping into the red shade from this palette called Bangla. And I'm just going to apply it again into my crease and also blend it towards the transition shades that we have. I'm also repeating the same on the lower lash line, but switching to a smaller brush, which is the LY38. Then a shade that I absolutely love from this palette is this, it's like a wine color, if I can say that. It's the shade called Mela, which is absolutely beautiful. And I'm going to take that shade on the outer V of my eye and also into the crease. I do switch between a couple of brushes, just trying to intensify and see which one worked the best. But in the end, I stuck to this Louise Young LY38, and that's what I used to apply and also blend it mostly into the crease. And then diffusing the edges with the larger Kitco brush. I'm also going to take the shade Mela on the outer corner of the lower lash line, so about 1/3 of the way in. Next, I'm using this beautiful metallic burgundy kind of a shade called Barsa, and I'm going to apply that damp, and I'm going to use my MAC mixing medium for this. Again, this just minimizes any fallout that I may have on my face, and I like how it intensifies these eyeshadows. So I'm just going to take that on a flat brush and apply it all over the mobile eyelid, taking it 3/4 of the way and meeting the outer corner where we have the shade Mela, and then blending out the edges with the Louise Young brush. I'm also going to run that same shade right at the center of the lower lash line, connecting it to the outer corner shade that we have. Next, I'm going to take this deep bronzy gold shade called Bazaar. And I'm going to use that damp with the mixing medium and apply it as my inner corner highlight, connecting it to the burgundy shade that we have applied. And lastly, I'm going to dip my brush very faintly into the black eyeshadow, which is Surma, just to deepen up the outer corner of fraction. So just applying a very small amount to the outer corner, both on my top and lower lash line. Next, I'm going to run the Pat McGrath black pencil on my waterline, top and bottom, and then go in and apply the MAC Extended Play Mascara on the bottom lash line, and then the Charlotte Tilbury Legendary Lashes Volume 2 on the top lashes. And you could leave the look as is, but I also decided to use a wing liner. I haven't used a liquid eyeliner in such a long time, so decided to pull that out and create like a small kitten flick at the end, and keeping the line quite thin since I don't have too much of an eyelid space. For my lips, I'm going in with this beautiful shade by Dose of Colors, and it's called the Kiss of Fire. It's a beautiful red shade but with a pink undertone, so I think it looks really nice with this eye look. But you could also switch it up for any nude pink kind of a lipstick. It'll also go well with this eye look. And then for my cheeks, I'm using the Tarte blush in the shade Crave. And that's it. That is the look complete. Moving on to the next look. My eyes are already primed and ready to go. So the first shade I'm using is this yellow shade from this palette called Dhan. And I'm taking that on my Wayne Gauze brush number 16. I'm going to apply this in my crease and transition area, blending it towards my brow bone. I'm also going to repeat the same on the bottom lash line, but with a smaller brush. This is the Real Techniques shading brush. Next, just to add some warmth to the look, I'm just dipping very lightly into the red shade called Bangla with the same brush, brush number 16 by Wayne Gauze. Then just lightly applying that and blending it in the crease and transition area. Then I'm going into the star of this look, which is this beautiful green shade called Dhaka. I'm going to take that on my Esom W19 brush and just apply this on the outer V of the eye, the inner V of the eye, and then connecting it in the crease, so creating the outline for a halo eye look. I'm going to repeat the same on the bottom lash line as well. So just adding it mostly on the inner corner, outer corner, and just lightly diffusing in the middle. And then to blend out the edges, I'm going to use the My Kit Code Defining Crease Brush number 1.3 and just blending out the edges. And here I just felt like I'd added too much green in the crease, so I just went back into the yellow shade Dhan and then went over the edges of the green eyeshadow. Now to the center portions of the eyelid, I'm going to apply this yellow gold shade called Shuna. I'm going to take it on a damp brush, and I've used the MAC mixing medium to get the brush wet. I'm just going to apply this beautiful gold shade on the center of the eye and blending the edges with the green eyeshadow. Then repeating the same on the bottom lash line. Again, I'm just switching between the gold and the green till I get a smooth blend, and then just intensifying the center of the gold eyeshadow. For my bottom waterline, I'm using the Jordana Easy Liner Retractable Pencil in the shade Sea Green. And then here in the end, I just felt like there wasn't enough green that was coming high enough for my crease because I do have partially hooded eyes. So I just added some more green to the crease area. And then for my top lashes, I'm using the Pat McGrath Eye Pencil in Extreme Black. Adding my usual mascara, the MAC one for the bottom lashes and the Charlotte Tilbury one for my top. And that's the eye look complete. For the lips, I first went in with the NYX lip liner in the shade Brown. And then using the Nabla lipstick in the shade Ritual. For my blush, I'm using the peachy shade from the Tarte blush palette called Darling. And that's it. That is the finished look. Now, FW Beauty is an indie brand based here in the UK, and I believe it was started by Fatiha's World, and then also her sister joined in later, Yasmin. And I've interacted with Yasmin through YouTube and Instagram before, and then of course we worked together for Modest Fashion Live. So I was very happy and thrilled when Yasmin contacted me and said that they were launching the beauty portion of FW Beauty. Because FW Beauty, before the beauty products launch, was primarily a skincare brand, and they have a lot of I think good ingredient skincare. I haven't tried any personally, but I've always heard good things about them. And as soon as I finish the huge stock of skincare that I have, I do plan on trying some of their products out. But as I was saying, they did contact me and asked me if I wanted to be an ambassador for the beauty products, and of course I said yes. So that's how I got to experience this palette. So the Bengal palette comes in this packaging. So it's like cardboard packaging, but with a clear plastic windows. So you can see through and have a look at the colors. These are what the colors look like. Just going to bring it closer so you can have a better look. It's a 4x4 palette, so you get 16 eyeshadows in this palette, of which 5 of them have a metallic or a foil-like finish, while the rest of the palette is all matte. These two shades, Shapla and Shuna, I believe, these two have your shimmery eyeshadow kind of a finish, whereas these three, Barsa, Bazaar and Nadi, have more of your foiled eyeshadow like texture. So think of Makeup Geek's foiled eyeshadows if you're familiar with that texture. That's how thick and creamy they feel on the hands anyway. But all of them apply beautifully on primed eyelids. Now the palette retails for £24.99 here in the UK, and you get 16 eyeshadows, which is a steal in itself. And I do have a discount code for you guys, which is Sneha10, which will give you 10% on the palette, which brings down the price to £22. I will put up the discount code on the screen right now and also in the description box below if you'd like to purchase anything from FW Beauty. But again, I think it goes without saying that just because a product was sent to me, I'm not going to review it in a biased manner, if that makes sense. For anybody with an Asian skin tone, you should just look at this palette and scream with joy, because you do have all of the shades that you typically need in Asian outfits, like traditional outfits is what I'm talking about. You get your neutrals, which are perfect for everyday or office wear. You do have a lot of warm transition shades, which is quite a bit of a trend. You have these plummy pinky tones as well here. And then of course you have two gold shades. One is a brighter gold and the one which is more of a bronzy gold, which is amazing for Indian outfits. One thing this palette is lacking, I would say, in terms of ethnic clothing is silver. I think they should have had a silver instead of, I don't know, one of these shades, but I think it's really difficult because all the other shades are also quite essential, if that makes sense. And I'm really happy that they did include a stunning matte black in this palette. But you do get brilliant shades. You get this stunning blue shade, which is a nadi. You get this very interesting green shade, which is what I have on my lid. It's a matte formula, but it goes on so pigmented and it's like a different green. I've not seen this green shade before in other palettes that I own, so I was very excited to get that. And then the stunning burgundy shade as well are some of my favorites from this palette. And just look at these names. They are based off of FW Beauty's ethnicity and origin, which is from Bangladesh. So the names therefore are quite inspired from either sweets or different elements from their culture. So therefore the names have quite a bit of overlap with Indian names such as sari, rickshaw, bazaar, nadi, surma. All of those words are quite commonly used in Indian culture as well. So you do feel like this palette is a part of your little culture, so I find that very adorable about this palette. Now, although these three looks that I've shown you in this video are all colorful looks, I have created neutral looks, but I felt like there are so many neutral look tutorials already on my channel that you can create those basically with this palette as well. So that's the reason I wanted to use some of the more unique shades from this palette. Overall, I think this palette is definitely worth the money and I would give it a stamp of approval. So I really hope you enjoyed these three looks that I've created with this palette and also the mini review. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!
Open eye, feel the waves cut through me.